Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. For more than 40 years, Madisonville has been the destination for folks wanting to find the biggest selection of boats and at the best prices. That's Madisonville Marine, folks. And for more than a decade, they have been a part of the Sports Source. We appreciate them for being a supporter of shows like today's. And today we have UT Athletic Director John Currie, who's joined by, in this wave, Mike Strange, Josh Ward, Mike Griffith. Gentlemen, this is kind of the game show portion of our game. You guys get quick questions. You get about a minute to answer.
I'll try to shorten them.
That's good. We'll see. And here's the thing: we may wind up with more space for more questions, so that'd be good. Mike Strange, you start us off.
The Tennessee in the all-sports race, whether it was SEC or national, a very poor showing this year. If I know football drives the train from a budget standpoint, is there any reason to care about the all-sports race as long as football is good and the budget's good?
Well, I care, and the student athletes care, and our coaches care. And one of the things that's different about college athletics and professional athletics, we've got 20 sports at the University of Tennessee, and we had two incredible performances yesterday by alumni athletes of our track program, and we're going to care about that at the University of Tennessee as long as we have those teams. Certainly 46th in the country and 12th in the SEC last year, not acceptable. That's not who we are. We talked about it as a whole staff with our coaches and all of our staff members. Conversely, academically, we're the best we've ever been. So that academic foundation needs to give us a boost in those all sports rankings, and that's a priority for us.
Josh Ward.
John, a few months ago, you opened up the Hey John letter where they could send you questions, feedback, suggestions. What message from a Tennessee fan has caused you the most time to think about the feedback they sent you?
Well, Josh, we've gotten lots of great feedback. Probably the predominant theme has been the Lady Vols, as we talked about earlier in the show. But, you'll see questions on there about, Bob asked me about XX1 concessions, but you'll get specific questions sometimes that enable you to correct that problem. It is a very useful vehicle, I think.
John, when you were here, your recent time, you oversaw basketball, very close with Bruce Pearl and the staff. Obviously, they were very big on you, and Tennessee was a regular in the NCAA tournament 6 straight years. Well, now it's been just one time in the last 6 years that Tennessee basketball has been to the NCAA tournament. That's the worst in 20 years for Tennessee fans. What's a reasonable expectation? I mean, Coach Barnes has been here 2 years, hasn't been to any kind of tournament.
Well, I think, first of all, Mike, I did bring my 2008 SEC championship ring here because we do have that in our history and we do have that in our future, I believe. The NCAA basketball tournament, as we've learned over the last couple of years, don't ever take that thing for granted, right? Some people talk about being the last team in or whatever. It is hard to make that thing, and there's 350 teams that are vying for it every single day. I'm extremely excited about our team. I love the energy that Coach Barnes has. Is really phenomenal. They're doing a great job over in Europe right now. Got great players coming into the program. And over time, that is our expectation to be in the NCAA tournament.
Let me ask you, this is more of a big picture conference-wide type question. Right now, the cable bubble is bursting a little bit. I mean, we saw all the conferences run out and they started their own networks and the money was coming in, so everybody went out and added teams and expanded. Now, 10 years from now, there's no telling. I could see a day when the SEC's television is actually brought to you by Amazon. You can watch Big Ten games on Twitter. There's some other pipeline bringing you Pac-12 games. With that upheaval and not knowing if you're going to get that kind of huge dollar from the cable companies like you have in the past, do you think we're looking at the possibility of more conference changes over the next decade, maybe even going in the other direction? If you don't have those big networks throwing the money, are you going to see some of these leagues say, we didn't really need you, Rutgers, that type of thing?
Well, I can't speak to that particular example, but having spent 10 years or 8 years in the Big 12 where we went through some of those changes.
A lot.
And a lot of that was perceptive because that league is much stronger from a money standpoint than people give it credit for. Some of that's messaging, et cetera. But I believe that we need to be really cognizant of the fact that any of these income streams we can't take for granted. Our football ticket revenue at Tennessee was $5 million more last year than it was 3 years ago. A $5 million bump is significant. Don't ever take that for granted. I don't take that for granted with our general fans who buy season tickets. They can make the decision not to buy those tickets anytime. Same way people can make a decision to turn off their cable bundle. So that's why we need to be very careful in how we program the the uses of that incoming dollar. We got to invest in our facilities to ensure that we don't have huge debt expansions. We've got to be careful about the contracts we enter into.
Very good. When we come back, one last go around with John Currie in terms of rapid fire questions. It's like debate format. Come on back on the Sports Source.